to it. So what I'll do, I'm going to run through, the new feature, basically the sales pipelines, how to set them up, configure them, how to use them, and then we can have some questions, etc. at the end. We'll just log in. So I guess the first step in setting up your sales pipelines is to come into your. So you will need administrator access or access to the configured sales pipelines. So the permission is in we have in the role management. There'll be a role called or a permission. That one under the configuration section here called sales pipeline. So if the user has a role that has that permission, then you will be able to access that.
That role is completely separate. I think we're helping you out.
So we'll come in. So we have sales pipelines and we have sales pipeline stages. So the sales pipeline is basically you can have different sales pipelines. They could be you could decide to have different sales pipelines for different work types. So you could have a sales pipeline for commercial jobs or commercial lighting jobs, another sales pipeline for heat pump jobs, for example. So I'm going to add a new sales pipeline. So there's one in here already, but we'll just create a new one. So new sales pipeline, and then we want to add stages to that sales pipeline. Just going to disable the mic on you guys at the moment. All right, so we'll add a new. Oops. Come in here, sales pipeline stages, and we'll add some stages. So you can see there's an existing sales pipeline setup, which has these stages: new lead, call scheduled, contacted, negotiated, won, lost. We'll actually just create a new one. So we're going to use the new sales pipeline we created. We can use similar stages to the other one. The sort order just controls the order in which the stages are listed on the sales on the pipeline. Trigger appointment creation is used for when you land a job onto that particular stage in the pipeline. It will trigger. It can trigger the creation of an appointment. And hide from pipeline view is I'll show you what that means later, but that's basically for hiding that stage from the pipeline view. Pick a color for your pipeline stage. Okay. Add another one. Go. So these obviously these stages can be whatever you like. Name them whatever you need for your workflow. Just going to go back. Let me just filter this. So the appointment booked one, I'm actually going to tick this because we want to trigger an appointment creation when we landed on this status. And then the last one, we'll just put L1. And we'll just have one more called lost for the ones that we want to move. All right, so once we've set up our stages, we can then go to our sales pipeline management screen here. So this sales pipeline you see here is the existing one that I had set up, but we'll go to the new one that we've created. So this one's currently empty, and we can see our pipeline stages that we've created here. So new lead, contacted, negotiating, assessment booked, won and then lost. Now, the next step is getting appointments onto the sales pipeline. So to do that, there's a few different methods. If we wanted to bulk import from a list of leads, like from an Excel file, for example, we can do that. So to do that, we'll come in through admin, import, sales lead import. You can click on this Excel file here. It'll give you a link. Sorry, it'll download you a template. That looks like this. So with this template file, it's got a couple of different tabs down the bottom here. These are just explaining basically what to do. So this abbreviation is basically just giving you a list of all the valid values for some of the columns. This quick format is probably the format we want to use. Advanced format, we can just delete that tab. Hit that quick format. So it'll give you an explanation here. So it's got some column headers, and it'll tell you what to do here. So it'll tell you that, if you ever read through this, but what I'll do is I'm going to just delete this, and I'm going to set some. You can set some values here in place of these. So the green ones are mandatory columns. The non-green ones are not mandatory. So you just got to make sure you have valid input in each of the fields. So you would want to extract from another, if you're extracting them from a website or another CRM, you need to get them into a particular format. So what we'll do, we'll just skip past this, and I'll get a file that I prepared before. So this is an example file in the correct format. So I have the external customer reference. We can leave that blank. It's only if you wanted to have a reference number to a customer in another system. Title, first name, surname, email. These are company related fields. We'll just leave them empty. This one is these are all residential customers. The SMS consent is, if we come back to here, it can be one of three values: inferred consent, express consent, or no consent. It's just you don't have to import this in, but this is if we wanted to set up SMS campaigns and things later, then you can. This controls whether customers are eligible to receive sort of marketing or promotional type of SMSs. So if they were no consent, they wouldn't get any. And when you're setting up your SMS campaigns, you can choose whether you want to send them to the inferred consent or express consent. I'm just going to put all of these as inferred. I've got a phone number in there, a address. You want the address to just be in a sort of standard format like that. Customer type, residential or business. The client column needs to match a client in your system. So if we come back here and we look at our list of client in the client register, we have a client called Dataforce. So we're just going to, most of your systems would just have probably a client called default. So in that case, you would just put the word default here. But I'm going to use Dataforce. Agent, likewise, it needs to be the name of the agent that you want to basically link that job to. So if you have a look in your agent register, you'll see the agent I want to import into is just called Dataforce. Needs to match exactly. If it's got a name here that doesn't match an existing agent, the row will fail to import. Extra columns, comments, any tags. You can have a list of comma separated tags here. So the tag, it will just have to be in the format like this. But the tags need to exist in the system. The list of tags can be found here under tags. The source, again, this has to exist in the system. It needs to just match the name. So if you come into the gear icon here, go to sources here, you can see a list of sources. So you always want to match it to that name. The sales pipeline ID is the sales pipeline stage that you want that lead to be imported into. So if we have a look here under the sales pipelines we created earlier, sales pipeline stages, new sales pipeline, these are the stage IDs here on the left. So we want to bring ours into this new lead, which is 7. So I'll change this to 7 on all of these. And didn't work. 7, and we might do a couple as 8. We can see them in a different stage. Priority either low, medium, or high. Highlight it on the sales pipeline with a different color. And then the amount is just like a dollar amount that lead is expected to be worth. And then any notes you can put into here relating to that job. And the tracking code is just another tracking code that can be used for reporting. I'll save this file and then I will import it. So if we come back to admin, import sales leads, browse for the file, import. So when you click import, it will give you I mean, this is similar to the appointment import process, if anyone's ever used that before. But it will give you a mapping, basically, of your columns to the database fields. So in this case, these were our column names, which we would define from the template on the left here. This is the internal database field it's going to map to. So based on, if the column names match the internal name, then the mapping will basically, it'll do the mapping automatically. However, for example, if this field here in our spreadsheet was called first name with a space in between, this wouldn't have mapped automatically, and we would have to, it would probably start off on here, and we'd have to come in and select the column we're mapping it to. And it'll give it just these rows here, or these columns here, just show us the first 5 records so we can see what value is being mapped. So in this case, I don't actually need to do any mapping. It's all mapped already based on the column names. So I'll just click import. I've got 19 records, start import. Okay, so it's saying imported records 19, failed 0. If there were any failed records, you would get an extra button here where you would be able to download a file which just has the failed records in it, so that you can then go and correct those and re-import them. So close that. I can see here that there's been 19 records imported. Here's an example of an early import done with failed records, so it's showing that there was an invalid source on all of the records, so that column had an invalid value in it. So now if we go back to our sales pipeline, we should go to the new pipeline. We can see here we've got these are the leads that have been created and they've been imported in. Now, once we have them on the sales pipeline, we can then start sort of managing the lead on here and tracking what status it's at. So this column here, it'll give me a total of the value of the leads in this column based on the what I put in the amount fields. So before I move on and show you how to use this, what we'll do is I'll just show you some other methods of getting appointments onto the sales pipeline. So if you already have jobs in the system, so say for example, I had an incomplete booking up here. We'll go this. Well, actually, what we'll do, we'll go. Let's say this one here. Let's say this is an assessment we already have, but let's say we wanted to move it back onto the sales pipeline. We can open it. We can go to job actions, change sales pipeline, and we can move that to negotiating, for example. If we come back to the sales pipeline, we'll see that one's now on there. So that's the other way through job actions. Another way is through a bulk. You can use a bulk method here. So if you had a bunch of jobs already in the system, you can. So for example, if I go show sales leads up here. So this is more if you wanted to bulk change the sales pipeline stage or set it. So you can come up here, change sales lead. You can pick for bulk action and choose change sales pipeline stage. Click search. It'll give you a list of jobs. So you can see here a lot of these are already on already have a sales pipeline stage, but there's some here that don't. So what we can do is we can highlight a few of these. We can say perform bulk update and select. So for example, go contacted. So those ones have updated now. So that's how to bulk change the sales pipeline stage of appointments, or not appointments, sorry, jobs. Next, we'll go back onto the. Well, actually, we'll start from the point of view of just creating a new job. So if we were just to create a new job in the system, so we'll go New South Wales. Go create, and we will select. Let's just say we're doing a EAB assessment. So when we get to the next screen, you'll see an option here. How do you want to proceed? We can schedule an appointment, or we can just create the job. If we just create the job, it'll ask us what sales pipeline we wanted to add it to. So we can then pick a sales pipeline. And now this job is just on the sales pipeline, but we haven't actually booked any appointments for it yet because the customer might not be ready to proceed at this point. So if we go back to the sales pipeline, we can see that one is here. That one I just created. So now we're on the sales pipeline. So moving stuff around on the sales pipeline is just a matter of dragging and dropping. So if we, for example, have this new lead here and we're going to contact the customer, we can just open that up. We can get their contact details here, give them a call. What you could then do is, adjust the amount, for example. You could set a priority on it, put the contact date that you last contacted them. If you wanted to take ownership of this lead, you can assign it to yourself. So I'll just put it as this user for now. Actually, I'll put it as Dataforce. And you can add a note. Save that. So that yeah, it was this one. So I'll put a contact date. So if we have a look, the notes are added here. So every time I add a note to the bottom here, we'll see it appear in the list here. Now, if I wanted to, so this will change as well. Once you've set a contact date, it'll say last contact date. I can then move this into contacted to say that I've contacted the customer. And that just lets us know that the customers in this column have been contacted. If we're ready to start, if you're in a negotiation phase with the customer, for example, you could move it into here. And then when you're ready to book an appointment for it, if they're going to proceed, you can move it into this column. You see when we move it in here, because we had that other setting where we had the appointment, trigger appointment creation set, this one's going to pop up with an option to create an appointment. So here we'll say we're going to create a here assessment, for example. And then it'll take me over to basically create and schedule that appointment. So we'll just schedule one. Confirm. Now, if we go back to our sales pipeline, we can see here that this appointment is sitting in appointment booked, and it's showing it has an assessment which is in an assigned status. So any appointments that have an assessment appointment booked will show the status here, so you know where that's at. Now, as far as sort of managing your jobs on this pipeline, you can filter them using the above filters. So if I was looking for a particular job or a particular customer, so for example, Lily Jackson, you can just type in the filter there. It'll filter them, or you can filter also by job number or address. I think all of these have the same street, but maybe address doesn't filter actually. But yeah, I'm not sure if the address works. I might have to look into that. I thought it did. You can, from this screen as well, you can also change the pipeline as an alternative to dragging and dropping it. And you can click, if you wanted to open this job up in another window, you can click on this button here. It'll open it up on another screen where you can view it there as well and change details, etc. if you need to. You can find jobs that were created today, created this week. You can filter by contact date, filter by the creator or who it's assigned to. So, for example, if I think I assigned one to Dataforce, one of these ones, that one. Yes, that's assigned to me. And you can also filter by the amount. So for example, you wanted all jobs from 100 to 200. That would give you those. So obviously, once a job is one, you can move it into the one column. If you after some time, this column's going to get quite full. If you just keep building up the jobs in there, what you can do in that instance is you can create like an archive status for the one appointments. So for example, if I go back to my sales pipeline setup, go back to this one. So let's say we created another stage. And this one will hide it from the pipeline view. So what we could do here is, if you don't want it showing up on this view anymore, you can change the status to Style 1 Archive, and then it will disappear from the pipeline view, but it will still have a status of Sale 1. You can do the same thing with the lost ones as well. So that sort of sums up managing them on here. I guess the only sort of final thing we can go through is just quickly show you there's if you want to see some additional reporting on this, on these sales pipelines, there is another report available through here, Sales Pipeline Summary, which will give you a list of basically just a exportable list that you can play with in Excel if you need to. We are looking at and some filters at the top here. So we're looking at some other options on other types of reports that we can add based on sales line, maybe some more reports more around performance. But we'll be basically taking feedback from our customers on that to work out what's best, what they're after for that. So I guess, have you got, I'll put the mic back on. Have you got any questions or anything else you wanted me to show you through with the sales pipeline?